nobody really knows today that Christians are the most persecuted people in the world.
Right.
Excuse me. And so with that in mind, why are we the most persecuted religion in the world right now?
Yeah.
I have an idea. It's like, well, at one point we had the Crusades, right? Is this like the pendulum swings back and eventually something has to happen? Or what's the reason why Christians are most persecuted?
A lot of people make that argument, and it's funny because when we share about, for example, Christians being persecuted in Nigeria, it's so interesting because we have like haters or like, trolls on Instagram that will like comment on our posts and be like, oh, this is a result of the Crusades, or like, this is what you get as a result of like white colonialism. And it's like, I don't know what Nigerian Christians have to do with white colonialism as if they somehow deserve persecution. But, I think we really can't ignore the spiritual aspect of this, that it was written. Jesus told us, if the world hates me, they will hate you too. And he promised persecution. He said, no servant is greater than your master. And he said, you will be persecuted for my name's sake and for righteousness' sake. So, persecution is nothing new to the body of Christ. We were founded really on persecution. The apostles were persecuted. The early church was persecuted.
So it's human nature.
Yeah, but, there's a spiritual component here. But, I think what people don't realize, I think when we think of persecution and we think of martyrs, we think of this early church persecution. We think of
death.
We think of like Neronian persecution and like going in the Colosseum and being torn apart by lions. But there is actually more persecution in the body of Christ today than any other time in church history. There are more Christians being targeted and killed for their faith today than even in the times of the early church and the apostles. And
I can attest to that because, for example, I went to Starbucks to meet a friend one time, and they completely disagree with me about 99% about politics. So I decided to meet with them.
Yeah.
And this person...
To convert them?
Well, it would have been nice if I was a good enough communicator back then. I could have gotten something across, but I wasn't that good. This was about 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
And so he used to be a Muslim who converted to atheist. I don't know if you can convert to be an atheist, but he's now an atheist.
Sure.
So I knew providing facts was futile. They don't ever want to agree with what you say because they think they know everything. But when I mentioned Christians are the most persecuted people in the world, he laughed in my face and said, yeah, right. Like, that's not true at all. And I was so baffled by that. So confidently he said that statement where I just didn't know what to say. So I kind of just let it go. But I'm Assyrian.
Yeah.
90% of the Assyrians that live in the diaspora, meaning outside of our birth region of Iraq, Iran, we live all across the world now due to Christian persecution.
Right.
Our cousins died, our ancestors died, the 1915 genocides, ISIS beheading our people, the most recent events that took place in 2015. So I firsthand know this, but the world doesn't know this. So that's why I feel like it's an important conversation to be had with, and seeing a young person such as yourself bringing light to it is encouraging.
Yeah, I think a point on that, what's interesting is, and whenever I talk to somebody who's not Christian or even some Christian people, it's shocking when we say that Christians are the most persecuted religious group. And there's almost like a resistance to believe that. But it's not just religious sources that are producing these statistics on persecution. It's Pew Research Institute, which is a secular research institute that's reporting that Christians are the most persecuted religious group. So whether or not it fits the narrative, whether or not it's a comfortable reality, the truth is that Christians are the most persecuted religious group.
And does that play a role as to why Islam is the world's fastest growing religion?
I think in some degree it does, certainly, because, look at what ISIS, their campaign against Christianity in Iraq and Syria, it was convert, be killed, or pay the jizya tax, and eventually be killed.
Right.
So there is a level of this, hostility and maybe somewhat of a forced conversion. But I don't know. I think that also, I wouldn't put the blame fully on that. I do think that in places like Iran, where it's illegal to convert from Islam to Christianity or to another faith, maybe we don't know the real statistics on how many Christians are living in a place like Iran, how many Christians are living in a place like North Korea where it's illegal to say that you believe in God.
There's underground churches, so we can't even...
Right.
Yeah.
But also, I will say that I think that especially like Western Christians, they've lost the urgency to evangelize and spread the gospel. We're very inward focused people. And also we're like afraid to offend people. And it's like somehow sharing our faith, we're afraid that that's going to offend someone. So I think there's a couple things playing into it.